request something different. There's a different type of request, different type of attention to something that he gives. So it's always good for us in this busy life that we have. Every single day we wake up, we go to work, we go to school, and we have so many activities that are going on, we don't realize how time passes by. So we need a few stops, a few stations where we are on this train of life, and we need to have a rest stop. Thursday night is one of those rest stops where we get to sit down, stop our movement, think about ourselves, relax a little bit, think about how the week has passed, and contemplate over our lives and where we are going, the rest of the journey. So Thursday night is one of those nights where the Prophet ﷺ has indicated to us that the angels descend, and that the prayer of the individual is more answered on this night, because it's also connected to the day of Friday. Friday is also a blessed day. So it's good to take advantage of this night. Now, of course, seeing the way we live here in the West, it's not very easy to fill our schedules with, things of worship. If you live in the East or countries that are Islamic, usually the week and the schedules of the week are revolving around the Islamic days of worship. So Friday is usually the day off in most of the Islamic countries. So Thursday is also a day off. Some countries have Saturday as a day off. But even if Friday was the day off, Thursday night you're able to do something because the next day you have the day off. Over here people have work. Most people have work on Friday. You might have school. You might have something to do. So it's very difficult for us to live that kind of lifestyle where we are able to make the best out of our days in terms of filling it up with worships and things of that sort. If you open a dua book like Mafatih al-Jinan, you find that on the night of Friday, which is Thursday night, there's so many du'as that you can do. So many chapters of the Quran that you can recite. Specifically mustahab for that night. The same applies for Friday. From the moment you wake up for Fajr prayers until Dhuhr prayers, Salatul Jum'ah, there's something to do to fill your time with. Either a surah of the Quran, a tasbih, an invocation, a dua. Of course, we cannot expect ourselves to do all of that. And I don't think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects that from us either. And the reason why I don't think that is because by looking at the ahadith, we see that the imams themselves, even when they lived in an Islamic society and Friday was a day off for most people, they didn't tell their companions to do all those a'mal, those acts of worship at once. If you open the Mafatih al-Jinan, the book of dua, you find that each action that you are told to do by the imam is narrated by a different individual. So for Surah Al-Rahman, to recite that every single Friday, it's mustahab to recite it. And then after فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, it's mustahab to say لَا بِشَيْءٍ مِنْ آلَاءِ رَبِّي أُكَذِّبْ, for example. That's one act that we have the narration. It's mustahab to do on Friday. That was given to a certain individual. Now another individual was given another dua to recite, another amal to recite. Let's say he was told to recite another chapter or another dua on that day. What our scholars did was they gathered all of these ahadith together and they put them for you so that you know what the imams have told us to do on this day, what's mustahab to do. The objective wasn't for them to come and say that here, this is a list of what to do all of them. Because the imams didn't do that, right? When they told this one narrator, this one companion, to recite Surah Al-Rahman, the imam didn't give him the rest of the list. He told this individual, you recite this surah. And he told another individual, you recite that surah, or you recite that dua. So when we look at dua books, we shouldn't feel overwhelmed that there are too many things to do. The most important thing for us to focus on is the quality of what we're doing. 2 rak'ahs that are prayed sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are better than 1,000 that are prayed without sincerity. Don't think that God wants many from you. He wants a sincere relationship. It's like, when you're in a relationship with someone, you can ask anybody. If you buy this person that you love a gift every single day, and you think to yourself that, you know what, I'm gonna give them something every day. In fact, I'm gonna give them 5 things a day. But in your actions, in your relationship, and the quality of the relationship, you really fail at that. You're unable to show love to them. you don't spend time with them. And I think everybody can agree, except a few people, of course, who just get into relationships in order to have gifts and all that kind of stuff. That's not a real relationship. That's a relationship based on a sort of benefit, right? You go towards someone who's wealthy because you want to get something from that person. Either a woman goes to a rich man just so he can spend on her and because you want to shop, or a man goes to a wealthy lady and he wants to enjoy that luxurious life, right? This is not a real relationship. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want you that kind of relationship with him either. He doesn't want you to behave with him as if, let me pray 100 rak'ahs, let me do this, let me do that, maybe Allah will be pleased with me. He doesn't want the gifts. He wants you to be sincere with him. He doesn't need your salat, he doesn't need your dua. You need his salat and his dua. You need to pray for your own self. It helps you. So what you have to look for is you have to look for that sincerity in relationship. If you get up on Friday morning and you're able to do 100 salawat or 50 salawat or 10 salawat, or for example, you can wake up with the intention that today, I want to focus more on my prayer. I want to have at least one rak'ah of salat al-zuhur where I'm not thinking of anything else. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that matters way more than you doing all of the other mustahabbat and recommended acts. So coming here on Thursday night also is a very good thing to do because you have the opportunity to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way you don't connect with him on other nights. Dua Qumit, for example, is a wonderful dua to recite on this night. You might not be able to recite the whole thing. Our ulama say that you don't have to recite the whole dua, any dua for that matter. If there are certain segments of a dua that you like, then you can take that segment and recite it. Next week you're tired, you're traveling, you're unable to read the whole dua. Don't let the week pass without doing something at least sincere with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't let thinking that I have to either read the whole dua or not read the dua at all, don't use that as a criteria. You can pick a small segment of it. And there are very beautiful segments in Dua Qumit. Every segment is like a prescription, a medicine that relates to some sort of emotion and spiritual ailment that we have. So use these days to build that sincerity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and change the mentality of thinking that Allah wants so many actions from you. In our hadith, we have that the Imam alayhi salam says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with the little that a servant does for him. He doesn't need the person to do so much. In another hadith, we have Imam Salih alayhi salam, when he was young, he says that when he went to Hajj, he used to do tawaf around the Kaaba and he would do so many du'as and so many prayers to the point that he was sweating so much from all the effort and energy he was putting. So Imam al-Salam sees him and he tells them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kind and loving and he will be pleased by the little that you do. So don't overexert yourself in this matter. Don't feel that you have to fill your whole day with things like that. Just to make yourself more sincere. Purify your heart. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify our hearts, to accept our deeds, to allow us to understand the true way of having that divine human relationship in order for us to walk on this path and not spend our lives in the wrong direction. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Well done. Center